My name is Alex Orr, and you guys are going to be listening to my dad on Bradley's house.
Nothing is impossible, but certain things are highly improbable. Don't think I'll meet your kind again, not in this lifetime.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming back to join us for part 2 with our good friend Marshall Goodman. So then how did you go from council member to mayor of the city of La Palma, I believe, right?
Correct, city of La Palma. So each council member, we're a small city. We got just under 16,000 people, and we don't have a mayor at large like the bigger cities, which typically 50,000 or more.
So
You
you each
have
take
an
turns.
at-large mayor. You
Yeah.
elect a mayor, beside the council. We have each council member serve as mayor for one term. So the council, appoints. We take a vote on who's going to serve next as mayor and mayor pro tem. And basically, that's the, sequence. The mayor pro tem then becomes the mayor, and then we elect or appoint another mayor pro tem, and then it just keeps going. Each council member serves typically one time in your 4-year term. Sometimes if the council member resigns or, doesn't want to serve, or if there's some issues amongst the council and they feel that that council member is not capable of serving, then someone will serve 2 terms. The Palma City Council, a gracious mentor, as I mentioned before, Gerard Goodhart, he served 2 terms because we had a council member resign due to illness. And he actually wanted me to serve as mayor, but it was like my 2nd year. And I said, no, I need a year to kind of warm up. So I used my 2nd year as mayor pro tem on council, and my 3rd year I was mayor. It was just a really good experience. Not really, a mayor, carrying around the hat and holding up the groundhog, not like that. It's just,
Darn.
yeah, exactly. You just kind of run the meetings. You do go represent the city, as a spokesperson. But we're still basically just like the rest of the council. We just run the meetings. We do have a little bit of power. We can kind of choose what items go on the agenda. We watch the fluidity of items, and we're just kind of the chair of the board, if you will.
Unique
Dude,
experience.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and again, I had a great mentor in Gerard Goodhart. I also had a lot of tutelage from Peter Kim, who, anytime, he was extremely experienced council members, both of them. So they both helped me with this, experience. We had a good city manager, which made it easy. We didn't have a whole lot of issues when I was mayor, but one of my goals was economic development. As a council member, that's one of the things I took on, because looking over the city and what we have and what we need and so on, revenue was a big thing. We're always struggling to, make sure we keep our businesses. If one business leaves, then we're in turmoil and we have to do furloughs and all these different things with our staff and cut back and not give raises. So my focus was economic development. So as mayor pro tem, I set the stage for a huge development to come to the city, and we actually signed the agreement January when I became mayor. That was the first thing I did, was sign the exclusive negotiating agreement, which was like a 3 to 5 year agreement to have this huge development in a business, industrial, mixed use area of our city. So
That's
it
really
was
impressive.
it was a big accomplishment. And when I dig in, I try to take things seriously, and with the right team and the right mentorship.
Sure.
I had 2 mentors. I was able to, navigate and get some things done.
Did you find any similarities between managing all the personalities in the city council and managing all the personalities in a band?
Yeah, it's a great question. A lot of people ask that, and I actually use that when, I'm applying to these other committees. When you're elected official in any county, they use the elected officials to serve on water boards or, commissions, different things like that, because you're already established, chosen by the people. And if this district or, water district serves your city, then typically you have one member of the council serve on that district's board because, you're providing us service, so we represent our constituents. So in a lot of those interviews, that's what I said, because, they're like, so how do you manage, to try to reach consensus, which, everybody come to terms in an agreement, even if you agree to disagree, what are your methods? And I was like, my experience so far on council has been a piece of cake compared to dealing with the bands that I've had to deal with in the past.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because, it's been a huge learning experience. Conflict management is the expression I always use, because in the Long Beach Dub All-Star specifically, I was that dude. I got a nickname from one bus driver. He nicknamed me the negotiator because we had two tour buses, and our tour bus was like the guys that, didn't have dogs, and, we had some different hygiene habits, it is what it is. And the other bus,
delicately.
Yeah, you can take that as you will, right? The other bus had some rowdy folks, including Ras, Richard Arthur Smith, and good dude, great singer, lots of fun, very dynamic. And one night he was having a bad night, and he was trying to grab the wheel of the bus, and their bus driver was a retired police officer. So he was about to pull over and put work in, like, forget this, like, you're endangering everybody. So I got the CD and started just talking to Ras, like, all right, here we go, check it out, man. And we just talked it through. And so when he heard the reasoning and logic I used, understanding how Ras was and trying to get him to a place where he would just calm down and go to sleep, that's when I got the nickname the negotiator. But I did stuff like that all the time, just for the band in general. There were a lot of different personalities, a lot of hot heads, cool heads, this and that and the other, people who didn't want to speak up, people who spoke up too much. So I was typically the guy that was able to bridge all the gaps. And I definitely used that experience and brought it over into my experience as a councilman.
For people who don't know, how did the Long Beach Dub All-Stars get started?
The Long Beach Dub All-Stars got started. We just put a group together to do the Enough Already benefit show, where you had lots of groups, Pennywise, no doubt. We played, I think it was the convention center. It was a big venue. And you had a ton of bands come out and play Sublime songs for the
Palladium. It was the Hollywood Palladium.
Oh, was it the Palladium?
Yeah.
I just remember it was a big, empty place, and it just filled up. And I was like, good Lord, there's a lot of people here.
Yeah, it was packed.
So, yeah, it was. It was a huge event. And we just got some people together to, play some Sublime songs as like the former members of Sublime. And that's all it was meant to be. We had no name, nothing. And so I think we played last. All the other bands, Pennywise, everyone played before us. And then we played last and played a whole set of Sublime songs. And Opie was singing, Ras was singing, Michael was singing. Everybody was up there. We had Ike Owens. We had Tim Wu. I don't know if Todd was on that show or not, but Todd would pop in and out. Let's see, we had, myself, Bud, played, and of course, Eric. And we had people come up to us and ask, like, so when's the next show? And we were like, no, there's really no plan for a next show. But as soon as that happened, we started talking, and of course, we said, sure, we'll play again. Didn't know anybody would be interested. So that's when it was like 96, 97 that happened. I think we signed a deal in 98 with DreamWorks. So we just started going out, playing some shows and doing some things. Me and Michael did a demo. We started playing shows with like some of the artists that we had played with in the past or artists that we liked. And that was the foundation of the group, is to play with artists that we had run into before. So John Phillips did a lot of good work early on. He's was a manager for Sublime, and he managed Long Beach Dub All-Stars, part of Silverback Management, him and his brother Matt.
Yeah, great guys.
They aligned all of these artists like that were affiliated with the Sublime stuff, because of use or something like that. They had to contact them to get permission or whatever. Wailing Souls, Tippa Irie, Half Pint, Barrington Levy. That's why all of those artists are on the Long Beach Dub All-Stars record, is because John is very wise in his moves and said, you know what? It's good that we're getting all this sorted out with Sublime, but hey, the guys are working on a new project. You want to check it out? They're in the studio right now. So they'd come in and we did songs, and that's basically right back. And we brought, I think, HR over onto Wonders of the World as well. But early on, we did Long Beach Dub and Friends. That was me, Michael, and Eddie. And we also did right back, like the first EP, Michael, myself, and Eddie did. And then the first record, same lineup. And then Wonders of the World, we used Paul Leary. But Michael and I still did all the, demos and arranging and different things like that. And I believe I don't know if we used Eddie on Wonders of the World or not, because Paul tended to use his guys. But anyway, that's how the band started, and that's how
Now,
we
Marshall,
got our foundation.
I don't want to cut you off here, but you had told me a story off air one time, and the name, the Long Beach Dub All-Stars. You mind sharing for the listeners how that came about?
Right, that was exactly what I was transitioning into. Well, we got the name, the Long Beach Dub All-Stars, from Brad, and Michael brought it forward because him and Brad used to talk, and Brad was like, if we don't like the deal that we have done with Gasoline Alley, MCA, we'll just go across the street like Parliament Funkadelic did. They signed a deal as Parliament, then they went across the street, signed another deal as Funkadelic. Same people, same entities, just different names, different labels. Brad was like, we'll use that strategy and we'll go across the street and sign with another label, and we'll call ourselves the Long Beach Dub All-Star. So that was Brad talking to Michael. And, Michael's brilliant. Michael is absolutely brilliant. His memory is like a steel trap.
It's crazy.
And he has his finger on the pulse of things like that. And I know that's why Brad really liked him, is because Michael just has this instinct, right? So it's like this marketing brilliance. And so he remembered that and was like, we should call this group the Long Beach Dub All-Star. And he really didn't tell us in the beginning. It was just like, yeah, all right, that's cool. It's kind of flat, but yeah, we'll use that. Then later on down the line, he let us all know where it came from. We were like, no, really, and that's just Michael's, again, he's brilliant. So that's, the name actually has extended through from Brad, believing that he could go across the street like Parliament Funkadelic and sign another record deal if the Sublime didn't work out, or if he didn't like the provision, and that was it. It was just on the wing, just kind of, we'll just call it the Long Beach Dub All-Star. So that's how we ended up with the name.
Man, that's so awesome. Now, before the Long Beach Dub All-Stars got going, I need to circle back because I have to ask this question because I've asked it from a few of our guests. You guys are recording self-titled. We talked about earlier how you were very much a part of it. And I have to ask, as you guys are there recording it, you've been a part of like 26 bands you'd mentioned so far in this podcast and recorded a lot of music and have been a part of a ton of different musical projects. Did you know that there was something special going on with this album? Did you realize, like, man, this is going to be it? We're off to the races now.
So that's a funny thing. I've been asked that question before, and it was asked with 40 Ounce of Freedom. And to be honest, I responded the same way with both records, with all the projects that I've done, because, I'm a little weird. I live in a different space. Again, Michael's brilliant. I don't approach things that way, or I don't have that brilliance because I approach things a little different. I am as in the moment as you can be ever as any human being you'll find. Like, Buddhist monks probably are better than me, but that's been my target my whole life, based on, the provisions I was given, the life I was given, this kind of survival mode that I was in. I live in the moment. Like, I don't predict too much. I don't expect too much, and I don't linger too much in the past. I just kind of go right now. And so with 40 Ounces to Freedom, yeah, of course I thought it was the best, but I didn't do any prediction. I just said, this is dope. I mean, that's the only thing I would do, is to work to make something the best it could be. And that's what we did with 40 Ounce. That's what we did with the self-title. So it was like, my creativity comes from not I do want to be the best. I want to make it the most it can be for what it is. So what these songs are, the way I look at them, is how are we expressing our emotions to other people? How are we getting our ideas across? Are people going to be able to hear what it is we're doing? And are they going to be able to understand the different colors that we're painting and throwing their way? Are we making it clear for them? Are these transitions and are these drums balancing off of the bass right to make that feeling come through where they want to move or where they want to stop for a minute and just listen? Like, are we doing that? That's where I focus. That's my inspiration for music. I'm just like a mathematician, more so than anything. And then of course the creativity comes in. You come up with these licks and these different things. People will come in and do this beautiful run and it'll move me. I feel it in my soul, but that's not something I aim to do, like, ever. I want to make it to where how are we communicating the best? Sometimes no drums is communicating the best. What's the point of this thing we're doing? What's the point of this song? What are we trying to do? And so from 40 Ounce to Freedom all the way through self-titled, all the Long Beach Dub records, that's all I was really trying to do. So predicting whether we were on to something like this is going to blow up, there's really no way to know that. And I don't really think that way. That's more of Michael's wheelhouse. Like, he's that predictor, marketer. This is the direction we should go. I'm more like, once you figure out where we need to go, let's go, and I'll be that drill that just gets us through. Just make it happen. I'll make what we make like solid. And that's actually the dynamic that created all the Long Beach dub sound, and through Michael and I being co-producers, because we serve different purposes. A lot of times we fight. I mean, we don't get along 50%, 51% of the time. Me and Michael are around each other. We don't get along. But that 49% creates magic. And that allows both of us to understand that, yeah, we need to go ahead and just get over all the drama that we have. We're different people. We do different things, do things differently, but we make great music. So that's, where I come from. That's how I looked at everything. And that's how I approached doing those records.
That's a tough balance to find. I think a lot of bands struggle with that, and making it work between multiple strong personalities and creative visions. And the fact that you guys were able to make that happen, that's a credit to both of you for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I will admit though that it took a lot of patience, and my consensus building, reasoning and logic and all that really helped in that dynamic. And after a while, I would get tired after a while because it was a lot of work for me. You know what I mean? A lot of times I would concede. And if I didn't concede, I know I would have a fight with him. And then maybe a week later, he'd come back and say, yeah, you were right. And I was like, bro, just, save the whole week of drama. Like, trust, just give me a little bit of trust, and those are the cycles that we would go through, still go through. And so, but for him to stick around and to stay diligent and, be willing to work, again, true indeed. We were blessed and lucky to link up and be able to create what we created. And yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. Hard work, definitely hard work. Dealing with different personalities in this band has been trying, but sometimes that struggle is what creates the good art. And I think we achieved that.
But you certainly have. Now, I got to ask this question. I don't think I've asked anybody this yet on the podcast. The sitcom Joey, how did that all come about? The Long Beach Dub All-Stars are the theme song for an NBC sitcom. How'd that happen?
Crazy, right? And that guy, Joey, it's like the weirdest thing in the world. We were all shocked too. What happened? And this is the music industry in a nutshell, in my opinion. No offense to anybody in the music industry. I know lots of people who are executives and different things like that, but they'll have to admit, and if they are off air or, somewhere else talking sidebar or pre-interview and stuff like that, they will admit that a lot of things happen in this way. The story I heard was that whoever was doing the music direction work for that or directing it, or whoever was an executive on that Joey sitcom, they were in the search for a theme song. And this guy's daughter was just playing our record in the background, Sunny Hour, and he's like, that's it. And then that was it. Now have a theme song on, Joey, because his daughter was playing the song and he was just walking through and just, that's the song. Let's do it. So I
And
don't know how many people were working underneath. I don't know how many people submitted songs. I don't know how many people followed, synopsis and wrote stuff and all this work going into it. And it just boils down to a whim of one guy just saying, "Oh, that's it." And it just, we didn't try, we didn't do anything. It was just like so free. So there's no formula, is what I'm saying. They make it seem like it is. Turn your music in. Let's see if I'm gonna work and do theme songs for shows. It's like, please, because the way they're chosen, it's completely random. Many times it just comes out of nowhere, and that was how Sunny Hour got to be the theme song for Joey.
and I think it's important to mention that, like, it wasn't just a theme song for a sitcom. Joey was the first spin-off after Friends went off the air. So it was a spin-off from one of the most successful television shows in the history of TV, and a show that everybody expected really big things from. Unfortunately, the show didn't make it, but for the Long Beach Dub All-Stars to be in that spot, I mean, that's a big spot that any band would have been excited to have.
Oh, absolutely, I agree with you. And yeah, don't mean to downplay anything. I gave you my hard perspective of what happened and my approach, because it wasn't the first time that something like this you just falls in your lap. Did you hear about how the clearance came for doing time? Somebody, John was just in the elevator. He went through all the process to get the sample from the Gershwin estate cleared, which is where the sample I got it from. Like, it's Herbie Mann playing, where is it, Live at the Newport or something like that, and I took a portion of Herbie Mann's version of Summertime and used it for the song Doing Time. And used like the Cold Blood Thriller drums and used the Wilton Feller drums, stacked some drums, did some other little things, played the bass, but the sample is from that record. We were doing everything we could to get it cleared. It was no this, no that. No, we can't do it. Jump through all the hoops. And so John gets in an elevator with somebody from the Gershwin estate. They're on a different floor of the same building he was in. He's like, "Oh, you're so and so, right?" Like, "Yeah." Who you work for? "I work for the Gershwin estate." "Oh, really? Okay, well, look, we were just trying to get the sample clear." "Okay, we'll clear it. Done." It was that's what got it done. Like, so freak, so weird, so outside the bounds of normal activity in the music industry. But that's how it got cleared. Otherwise, no one would have really heard that song in that way. It's just crazy. So for me, as an analytical, uber logical, reasonable person, you want to try to figure the formula out. Like, okay, if you want me to do this work, how can we get it done? Right? That's how I approach things. There's no real way. When you have things like that happen, when you have occurrences like that, it's like there's no way to predict anything. And again, for me, that's why I just stay in the center, just work on what I have now. And if someone says, "Oh, we got to get this clear," it's like, good luck, and who knows if we'll get it done. Let's just pray for some, lottery type thing to happen, and we'll win. So anyway, that's the only reason I brought that perspective up about the Joey theme. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Friends, huge. We had a phenomenal opportunity. Still seeing residuals. I got an award from CSAC, my performing rights organization, for that theme song, because it did get so much exposure. So they CSAC presented me with a composer award. So yeah, you're right. We were very happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, man, that was really awesome for all of the fans. Marshall, if you would, again, this is Bradley's house. We talk a lot about Brad, and do you have a favorite memory? Like, when you're sit back and you think about it, is there a time or a place that's just a memory that you hold close to yourself that you had with Brad?
Just overall, he's just a friend. I just remember the times, I'm a very empathetic, very energy-based person. So when I hang out with somebody, I can remember where we were standing, things like that, based on the energy we're having at that moment. So the times that I remember like that, that's kind of how my mind works. I picture things and save them as memories tied to emotion. It's just hanging out with them. One that I remember is going to Nick's Cafe and getting burritos in Seal Beach. And we just hung out, sat in front of the spot and just, had our burritos. The first time I had it was great. And there's that emotional tie. Plus I was with a good friend talking about history. finding someone that really did have an in-depth understanding of the sociological things I understood and wanted to discuss, and he was hungry for more information. So if there's ever anything I mentioned that he didn't hear, he was, what would you say? Wait, break that down. Tell me more. And I was more than happy to share about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Denmark Vesey, Martin Delaney, all these people that I've been studying. He was wide open, wanted to hear about it. He's like, oh, that's what KRS-One was talking about, huh? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, so he fell in love with KRS-One and You Must Learn and the whole, Black empowerment movement. Like, we got to talk about that. And I didn't get to talk about that with anybody else except, my Black friends or people of color. And he was that one of those guys, one of those people in my life that you wouldn't expect to be so interested in these sociological topics that I was steeped in. And we would just sit and talk. So that's another, that's the center, in all honesty, of my remembrance of him, is that friendship and us talking about those types of things, historical, sociological, and of course the music, and that was something I definitely enjoyed with them. It was bittersweet because when we were playing good, but when there were bad times, it was completely rotten and terrible. So that kind of offsets each other. So kind of why the music isn't at the forefront, because some of the most tragic times I've had in music have been with that guy, and it's like, wow. And that's the reason I would sit and talk to him like, come on, man, you gotta be cool with all this. And, so the music part, of course, when we were in this little garage studio, the Toledo studio, making 40 Ounce of Freedom, I remember that like it was yesterday, because, you had to turn the air conditioner off in the drum room, which is the main sound room, because when you went to record, you didn't want it to interfere with the mics, and it got so hot in there. And then as soon as we're done, you turn it right back on because it's hot when you go outside. Like, I remember all of that. And Anthony Arvizu being there, the control room, and getting done with a tape and going in there and listening back. I remember all that like it was yesterday. And that's kind of it, as far as the music. Like, those are some truly, truly special moments. And then during that time we were recording 40 Ounce of Freedom is when we went to Nick's Cafe, when we took a little dinghy out into the canals in Naples. And for some reason, Brad was pulling up to somebody's dock to kind of run up and say hi to somebody. And I had no concept, I don't know boat culture. I never had boats, didn't do any of that. He's pulling up to this dock and this lady was waiting for him. Was like, nope, you're not coming here. And I was like, what's going on? Does he know her? Something like that. And she was like, no, get off this dock. You're not going to come to this dock. I didn't understand. So he still pulled up. He found a way to pull up on her dock, go up, go do what he needed to do while she was screaming at him, trying to push him off the dock. And I was like, what was that about? I mean, was that your friend's mom or something? He's like, nah, she just didn't want me using her dock. I was like, is that a thing? Like, I don't even get what's happening. But with that, I felt, there was a level of respect, because there was this whole other culture that Brad had that I had no idea about, that he was steeped in. And I was intrigued by that. I was like, oh, that was interesting. You know what I mean? Like, that was crazy. And how he handled it, just still did his thing, but didn't get crazy, but still, he just kind of managed his thing. I remember that very vividly, him and I taking that little dinghy out there, cruising the canals. I think it was 4th of July too. It was like early in the day. And so we were at his dad's house or something, and we went across the bay and went into the canals to do something. And then we came back, that was about it. But the funniest thing, I did the same kind of trip with Jim many years later, and I took my daughter Livia out, and your dad Kelly took us out on a dinghy, same thing, from his house across into the canals, and we just cruise around and we cruise right back. I think Eric Wilson was with us too that day.
Awesome.
So yeah, that whole culture, the beach, bay, boat culture, is very much a part of my memories with Brad as well. But yeah, all good things, to be honest with you. I focus on the good.
Yeah, I think that's important. And again, it's, you were a member of his band. You guys made such great music together, and it's just cool to hear the stories and kind of some of the memories that people have with him. And I know Kelly enjoys hearing them too. And it's just a lot of fun to be able to relive some of that stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that with us, man.
For sure. Pleasure to be able to.
So Marshall, what's going on in your musical career right now? I mean, we know you're doing the whole politics thing, and you'd mentioned that you're a dad, but you really never get away from the music, do you?
No, I don't. As many times as I've taken a break to go back to school to finish my bachelor degree, I did that in 2009, after the economic downturn. I think in 2010, I did a remix for Good Charlotte. Me and Michael did that together for Broken Hearts Parade. They released it. It was a big deal. In that time, I did some stuff for Slightly Stupid, like I did a remix or an edit. So they did an original demo, and I fixed the demo up, arranged it, and did everything, and it became a single that K-Rock put into rotation. That was like 2011 or something like that, Top of the World. And then throughout those years, I did little things like that. I was in a group called War Church with DJ Greyboy. It was a DJ group. And we did a little show at House of Blues or something like that. Just a little burst. We used to play at the Pike in Long Beach. Just a little burst of stuff like that. I recorded a record with a good friend, and extremely talented artist, musician, martial artist, Courtney Adams. He goes by Clavius. We did a whole record together. It's like progressive rock, just right here at my house. And, it's an extremely creative record. Like, one of his inspirations is, mine too, after he introduced it to me, is Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. And that's kind of the fashion we did it. Like, Yes, the song Roundabout, stuff like that. It's a total progressive rock record. Outside of everything that I've done, but that's something I was raised on too, and I really love. So during that whole downtime where I kind of stepped away from music, if you will, was doing that. And then Michael and I started LBDA. So he did this thing called the Skunk 25th Anniversary. And that was based on some things we were discussing when I was about to finish school in 2013. I was telling him we need to do some videos, him and I, do some videos, tell our perspective of, the Sublime story, because it's not really out there too much. And we can, make some new music. As we're making the new music with new people, we can show the formulas that we use and so on, just kind of, not sell what we're doing, but just kind of let people take a look into how we make records and make new records and then put a new record out. So he took that concept, teamed up with Kevin Zinger, and I'm not upset about this. It's just something he chose to do. These are those things, it's just like it is what it is. And he did Skunk 25th Anniversary. So he put a band together, and it wasn't an interview thing. It was more so a Skunk 25th Anniversary live thing. And I even took part in it. So we did a bunch of shows. When that was done, we decided to continue. And we called ourselves LBDA, because there were people saying, why don't you put the Long Beach Dub All-Stars back together? We're like, nah, we're good. And so we did LBDA for a number of years. And then in 2016, Kevin Zinger asked me if I'd be willing to put the Long Beach Dub All-Stars back together for this 25th anniversary for SRH. And that was a production company. And it's a huge merchandise company and lifestyle company, surf, skate, everything. They promoted, some of the early Long Beach Dub All-Stars show. After we did the benefit until we got the record deal, we did a lot of shows with SRH down in the San Diego region. And we did one show with them where they put on a boxing match and bands would play between the matches, and you got to sit and watch like different musicians box each other. It was great. So Kevin Zinger hit me up, was like, look, we're having the 25th anniversary. Side stage, I'm doing at the Blazing Glory Festival. And this was in June of 2016. He called me early 2016, and I was like, sure, I'll put it together, but here's my condition. I need Opie involved and I need Eric involved. So I think we got Opie, but you need to give Eric a call to make sure he is available, because I will do this as an inspiration being that these two guys I was in junior high school with, and here we are all these years later, being able to, get on a stage 2016. I want to do it again with Eric and Opie. That will be my inspiration. And he's like, for sure. So he got in touch with Eric's manager, and things were lined up. And I got the whole thing going. Talked to Michael. We talked to, we got Roger Rivas because he was playing in the Skunk 25th anniversary to play organ. We got Jack, Tim, the whole shot. And Eric was going to be on bass. We got about a month away from the show, and it was revealed to our Kevin that Eric was going to be in Japan. So I guess he took another gig or whatever. And so we had to get Ed Campworth. And I was like, all right, that's fine. We're still doing it. And Eric is around. We're in touch with him. We'll be able to get him involved somehow. And so we did the show, and kind of the same thing happened. We just looked around at each other. It was like, you guys want to keep going? We said, sure. And so we interviewed a couple managers. I felt that Kevin would be great. And we ended up sticking with Kevin, Regime Management. And they have an agency as well. Booked us some shows. They were getting guarantees higher than any of the other managers said they could get. And, the main thing for me was that Kevin had the confidence in us. The other managers were like, you guys are kind of old. Where are your socials? All this stuff. Kevin was like, yeah, none of that shit matters. Look, let's do some shows, man. You guys are dope. I got to see it firsthand. You're doing it right now. You're playing music. It was I watched the crowd. Like, let's do some shows. Fuck all that social media and guarantees. We'll get you what you need. Let's go. And so I like that. I mean, that's what you need, as an artist. You need somebody who has confidence in your art, not, what you're going to draw and all this stuff. Sure, that matters. But if they have confidence in your craft, you can know that they're going to get you what you need. So he did exactly that. And we went with Regime, did shows for 2 years, doing the same routes. Weekends only, Thursday through Monday, because all of us had jobs and families, different things. And by 2019, the goal was to, have these routes. You hit one route one time, second time you get a little bit more, third time you get a little bit more. And so we were doing festival anchor dates with drive dates around local cities, or maybe even crossing state lines, just, a drive or whatever. But we'd fly out to one spot, rent a van, and do a little drive circuit and fly back. And so by 2019, the third circuit, venues were ready to book. We created a potential tour path. So that's what we did. We went on tour summer of 2019. And prior to that, I think it was about the end of 2016, early 2017, we started talking about putting out new music. So we did this single deal. That was another place where Michael and I clashed. He wanted to produce them by himself, and I was like, okay, go ahead. No input from me. He mixed it by himself, all this stuff, and upset the band because the band wanted to change some lyrics, and he's like, no, all this and that. Typical Michael, but again, he's a genius. He's extremely creative. You just have to kind of abide. Sometimes you got to compromise or concede, really is the expression. And that created a little wave. So instead of, letting it be, I kind of pulled the reins back on stuff and started getting paperwork done and having everybody, kind of find their place. And that helped iron things out organizationally. And then we started doing more demos for, full record. And when those demos started coming in, everybody was sending them to me, and I was kind of putting stuff together, arranging stuff. Opie was listening, like, I like this one, I like that one. So I'd arrange that one, put some drums to it, send it to him, he'd write. And we got all the demos done like that. Supposed to have the record done before the summer tour of 2019. Fumbled a little bit, and then craziest part, what was it, February of 2019, we went to Japan, and Opie got arrested and put in jail. And so we were kind of stuck. We were considering canceling our summer tour. So we had to cancel some European dates because we were going to Europe right after Japan. We had to cancel his Europe date, but Opie ended up getting out. We got the summer tour done, but the record wasn't done. So we ended up waiting. We missed the cycle for Christmas kind of release. And so we used that summer tour as like we had all the songs done. And so we played a lot of the songs on the new record on that summer tour and kind of preloaded everyone. Like, get ready for our record. It's coming out soon. Here's a new song off our new record. It was already supposed to be out, but all the ripples caused it not to be. And we got it out actually the next year, May 30th of 2020. And, it got some really great reviews and did pretty well, surprisingly well. And that actually is the labor of love out of this whole second rendition is completing that record, because it was produced by myself and Cameron Webb. And our target was to make a Studio One-esque, organic, authentic. Those are the words that people use throughout there, Opie, Jack. And so I gathered those in, and that's what we did. And there's one song on there that's kind of dynamic with the hip hop beat and all that, Make a Name, but most of it is our take on Studio One, authentic, organic reggae, the way that Long Beach musicians do it, and the way that the Long Beach Dub All-Star musicians do it. So there's going to be little twists that go outside of truly authentic. Like, we never really wanted to do that. Sublime Long Beach Dub, none of us wore red, gold, and green or really went down the Rastafarian path, which is fine. But we chose not to. We just wanted to play the music and not, submerge ourselves deeply in the culture of Rastafarianism or anything. We just truly appreciated reggae, and we showed that through our music. So that's the same thing that we did with this record, and I think we accomplished that. I'm really proud of this record. That leads us to now doing more demos, actually, as we speak. Roger's turned in 5, Ed's turned in like 19. Ed's always writing. Ed Campworth, he's a phenomenal songwriter. And, we're writing to do a new record in this whole COVID time. We're not able to do shows, so we're going to try to create new music. But that's the long and short of it. I'm proud of what we did in 4 years. We were able to get a record done and travel, across the nation and get the buzz going again for the Long Beach Dub All-Stars. And we said, and I say continually, that Eric and Bud are more than welcome. Ras has struggled and is coming around. He's turned the corner and he's doing some shows and he's playing music, but it was just a partition that was created quite some time ago that is tough to heal. And, our approach now is a little bit more professional. I don't know. The way that the early Long Beach Dub All-Stars went, it was like, knock the system, let's do things our way. And that was intriguing. It was so much work in the background going on to keep the train on the track. Myself, Mitch, the road manager, John, agent, everybody was having to fix things. So what I did in 2016 was prove that we can do this thing still without having all the drama. So that's one of my asks, is that we don't bring drama. So when Opie went to jail in Japan, that was a big moment. Like, we all had to sit down and like talk things out. Like, that could have jeopardized this whole organization. So we need to watch what we're doing. And but Bud and Eric, more than welcome. Ras, welcome too, given certain agreement, and just to get the whole life of this thing going again. So I feel good about getting this thing resurfaced and people back out listening to Long Beach Dub. And I'm truly hoping that our old records, our old catalog will get out there and people will be awakened to this creative stuff that, was back in 2000 and 1998. There's a lot of stuff that's out there, a lot more good music with lots of features and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get that goal met.
All right, so you put me in a tough spot here because I've got listeners that expect me to do a job as a podcast journalist. I've got to ask, and you brought it up. Initially, Eric said yes, he was going to be a part of it. Did you get it? Did you reach out to Bud? Did you get an answer from him? And when did you find out that Eric wasn't coming to be a part of it?
The Eric situation was done through managers. And it's interesting because I did some work with Sublime with Rome. I saw Rome at like a Manny Pacquiao fight or a Manny Pacquiao movie that my wife's cousin produced and directed and just made. And Rome is friends with that circle, with my wife's cousin circle of friends. So I saw Rome there, and we just talked, and he's like, "Yo, bro, I'd like to have you come out and work on a record." So I went and I worked with Sublime with Rome, and Eric and I, you know, connected. And that was prior to the LBDA thing. So we were all good, whereas it was kind of rough from the past with Bud, Eric, myself, and Opie, Jack. Like there were some sides, like Opie, Jack, myself, and then Ras, Bud, and Eric kind of on the other side. And, you know, there was some use issues, like, you know, not even use, but just recreational choice stuff that one side chose to do, and the other side felt that that affected the business and blah, 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 blah. So there were some partitions that still existed. Me and Eric broke those down. Opie, myself, and Eric broke those down. So we all went to his house and jammed one day. It was all good, you know, so things were progressing. That never really happened with Bud, but I was still willing. I think Opie had talked to Bud, you know, quite often. Bud moved away though. He went to Las Vegas, I believe, Lake Tahoe. So he kind of just took himself out of the equation. And you know, Eric was still around and he was still talking to everybody, and we just needed to connect. So we did, and everything was good. So that's why things happened with Eric. And then again, I was in with Rome, and that's one of the things I'm more than happy and willing to do as part of the structure that I hope to create for the Long Beach Dub All Stars, is to have a rotating membership. You know, have Rome come out and sing some songs, have Carlos come out and play some drums, because he's one of my favorite drummers. I mean, no question. His work with Tribal Seeds, I always looked at him and gave him a nod, like, yeah, you're doing it, man. Like, that's what's up. That's how I would approach those songs, no question. And then when he hit the Sublime with Rome stuff, I was like, yeah, he's the right guy for that job. I mean, he's doing it beautifully. Better than any of the drummers, you know, prior, you know, or as good as Bud at least. So we never really reconnected with Bud. Opie reached out to him a lot, and Bud was like, yeah, okay, we're cool. And we played a show in Lake Tahoe, and Opie told him, come on out, man. And so he didn't come, but it just never, the connection was never made, but the hand was extended, no question, to Bud. And it's still extended. It's just, you know, there's such a history with everybody, and it takes work for each of us to get past those histories, you know, and how much are you going to harbor? Not saying that he's doing any of this, but those are the challenges. It may be one of us that harbors and lets it unfurl when we're around him, you know, and he may know that, you know, so it's just like so much to deal with. And blessed to be able to get over that hurdle with Eric. We just haven't gotten there yet with Bud.
All right, Marshall. On every episode with every guest, before we let them go, I ask one question. If you and I just met and you started telling me about your band Sublime, and I said, man, I'm just really not familiar, and I was going to give you an opportunity to play me one song. I'll give you one song to hook me. What song would you play from the Sublime catalog to try to reel me in as a fan?
What I Got, of course.
I think you're the first person to pick that, right, Kelly? I don't think anybody's picked What I Got yet.
And I love it. Thank you. It's the obvious answer.
Yeah, so of course. I mean, based on your question, you didn't say, you know, what song I liked or anything like that, but what would reel people in to Sublime? What would cause people to want to hear more of Sublime? Sure, I could think Under My Voodoo. You know, that was a dynamic song that Brad did. It was wonderful. Paul Leary's, you know, it's one of my favorites.
Amazing.
Santeria, of course, hands down, one of the favorites. But if somebody heard What I Got first, they'd hear all the different dynamics, like the loop drums, the scratches, the beautiful melodies, the half pint hook, you know, from Half Pint Song Lovin'. That's where that hook comes from, you know, and, you know, just all of that, like the renewing of reggae that Sublime did, you know, by Brad singing all these different artists and incorporating all these lyrics and concepts from different legendary reggae artists that he loved, he brought into Sublime. Santeria doesn't really do that. Under My Voodoo doesn't do that. What I Got is the quintessential, in my opinion, Sublime representative song. Yeah. And I think the industry knew that too. So there are a lot of sharp minds in the industry. And when you listen to that whole self-titled record, that song definitely sticks out as the one. And David Kahn, to be honest with you, he produced that one. He's one of those very intuitive industry people that is kind of a know-all like an oracle, and that was his favorite too. So definitely what I got.
Makes sense. I can't believe I get to ask you this question right now, a question that I've wanted to know for so long. April 29th, that's a Mobb Deep sample in there. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to live illegal, right?
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's got to be.
I'm gonna pull the Michael answer and say, well, do your research.
I don't need to do the research. I already know that it is. Maybe you guys didn't get permission and you don't want to admit it. That's fine. It's no big deal. But I know that's a sample from Mobb Deep Shook Ones. Well, Marshall, man, thank you. Yeah,
you understand, right? Okay, so
Absolutely.
All right. You got to say what you wanted to say, and now we're moving on. That's good.
Yeah, no, I'm happy we're all on the same page here.
By the way, I will say this: that Mobb Deep is one of my favorite East Coast hip hop groups of all time.
Well, mine too.
I don't know
that's
if
why.
That's an indicator.
Yeah, no,
right. Nas, Gang Starr. Those were like the big three for me. From that side. And yeah, so I don't know. You can do the math, I guess, but no comment on
right. No, hey,
on that song or anything. I don't know.
I get it, but you can't. Like I said, I grew up on the East Coast, so Shook Ones was like an anthem, and I was like,
that is that Mobb Deep song, like you asked about the Sublime song. That's the one for Mobb Deep, for sure.
Of course,
Shook
it is.
One is like the anthem for all East Coast hardcore hip hop. That's like the one. So I don't know. You can do the math. I was huge hip hop fan. Like I was raised in hip hop. So if you say you are hip hop, you have to know about Mobb Deep. And yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. No, yeah, I got it. Hey, listen, being a hip hop fan it was really cool. I got nervous as I got older, how it was all going to work out, like being a dad. And I really never had any issues except for the one day, I'll never forget this, it was just a few years ago. I'm in the living room and I'm vacuuming and the whole house is to my back. And I hear my 6-year-old and he screams out, "Hey, Dad, can I kick it?" And I just immediately went, "Yes, you can."
Yes, you can.
And then I just heard the table get cleared. He kicked the soccer ball across the kitchen and knocked off like 4 cups, a bag of goldfish, and I'm like, okay, so there it is. Being a hip hop fan as a parent did finally punish me at some point. But I don't know how else to respond immediately. If someone's going to ask me if you can kick it, yes, you can. That's how it goes down.
Yeah. Answer's always yes.
It's one of those hip hop things that's like when you say God is good. There's a response, right?
All the time.
Thank you. And that definitely is one of those, for sure. It's like in Texas, what do they say? When the moon shines bright in the deep of the night, they have to clap and do Deep in the Heart of Texas. That's one of those things. So that's a great story, man. So he flew the ball across the kitchen, kicked it.
Yeah.
He kicked it for sure.
Yeah, I didn't realize that he had his ball lined up and he was going to try to kick it into the living room, and I had my whole back to him, and he just said, "Hey, Dad, can I kick it?" And I immediately responded back with, "Yes, you can." And then I just heard the
right. You got hip hop in your blood as well.
Yeah, I couldn't get away from it. Well, Marshall, man, thank you so much for doing this. It's really amazing that we were able to get some of these stories out of you and find out what you've got going on right now. If anybody's looking to catch up with you, Marshall, you got social medias, websites, anything that you need to plug to let everyone know?
Oh man, I don't really think about that too often, but yeah, first and foremost, the family unit, the Long Beach Dub All Stars, all platforms. We got a .com. We got, it's either LBDA Music or Long Beach Dub All Stars, but it's all over. You just search it. It's Facebook, Instagram, and my stuff. I don't really do social media, man. I got an Instagram Ross and G thing, but I don't post all the time. I'm real boring. I tried to hire somebody to do it, and they fell off too. So it's just like maybe it's just not meant to be. But the Long Beach Dub All Stars thing, I think everybody can chime in there, and you'll get all the best updates. Opie, posts a lot of his art stuff and lots of stuff he's doing on his Long Beach Dub All Stars, or on the Long Beach Dub All Stars page, as well as his Tattoos by Opie. I believe is his on Twitter. No, Instagram. And he is one of those guys that does stories all the time. He's got a very entertaining Instagram. So check him out. And that's it. We just appreciate all of you here in this podcast, as well as all the listeners that have been here over the years and are interested in what I have to say. Just appreciate you and wouldn't be doing this without you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing those stories. You know, the music stories are a lot easier for me to distance myself from, but when there's personal stories that remind me of Brad as a person, not just as a musician, those hit me. So I'm super grateful for the mute button while you were telling that story. I'm not going to lie, I was crying hard, but it's really cool to connect with people who knew Brad on such a personal level. And so thank you very much for being on the show with us, Marshall.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Absolutely.
Wow, such an awesome conversation with Marshall. Just really incredible to be able to have him on and share some of those stories. And I know how much you enjoy it too, right, Kelly?
Absolutely. I mean, he's just such a great guy, and he's an amazing storyteller. And I just have so much respect for him. He's really navigated the music industry and politics, and I mean, just so many different areas. And he's done it all with so much poise and so much class. It was really fun for me to have him on today. It was a great show.
Yeah, and so much awesome stuff that's going on with Marshall and his band projects. Talked about the Long Beach Dub All-Stars. Some exciting news from one of our friends of the show, Kelly, Humble Collective. I saw on their Facebook, they're opening up a brick and mortar. Sarah's going to have an actual store for the Humble Collective and not just online anymore.
Yeah, good for her. I'm excited for her next step. They've been such great supporters of the show and the foundation, and I'm really excited for them. I think it's going to go well. They've got a great product. They do it with integrity, and you know, we're hoping for the best for them, definitely.
Absolutely. Now, before we get into the song that we're going to end this week's episode with, we've got kind of a fun announcement for all of our listeners at Bradley's House Podcast. We know how much you guys enjoy coming over every 2 weeks. We invite you into the house. We hang out with a cool guest. But Kelly and I have been talking, and we kind of miss you guys over every 2 weeks. So what are we going to do, Kelly?
Well, Jarett, we're going to start going every single week, which I'm super excited about. We have so many people to talk to, and it's just been too hard to try to get these things every 2 weeks. So we're going to start going every week, and I hope people listen. I hope people enjoy it, and I really hope that it helps to make a difference. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. Now we are going to end you guys this week with another song off of the amazing compilation album done by the folks over at Law Records, The House That Bradley Built. We've got the Long Beach Dub All-Stars with one of my favorites, Little District. Hope you guys enjoy it. Until next time, I'm Jarett Orr. She's Kelly Nowell. You guys don't have to go home, but it's time to leave Bradley's house.
Oh, in a little district in your neighborhood, swift like they think they should. A word from your mouth, your lights get knocked out. A blast to your lips, and later you move and slip. And if you have to, don't trip. I don't know how they manage, but believe me, mister, they do. If you've ever lived there, you just listen and like they think they should. A word from your mouth, your lights get knocked out. A blast from your lip, later you move and trip. And if you have to, just slip. No one asks no question, no one tells no lies. Listen to me, people, for the reason why. A word from your mouth, your lights get knocked out. A blast to your lip, and later you move and trip. And if you have to, just slip. I don't know how they manage, but believe me, mister, they do. If you've ever lived there, you just listen and don't be no fool. In a little district in your neighborhood, people knocked out. A blast from your lips, and later you move and choose.